Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be learning how to find the greatest common factor. There are two methods we can do to solve this, and without much further ado, let's go straight into our lesson. So starting off, you're probably wondering what is GF, and that basically stands for greatest common factor, but what is greatest common factor? Greatest common factor is the largest number that can be shared between two or more numbers. They share a common factor. So now you're probably wondering, how do you find greatest common factor? I mean, of course, that's the reason you probably clicked this video. So, greatest common factor, there's method one, which would be listing multiples. So the very first step to listing multiples is list the factors. Make sure to do this to both numbers you are given with, because once again, greatest common factor is finding the common factor between two or more multiples. So that leads us into our second step, which is finding the numbers that they both share. And once you do that, you're pretty much going on to your third step, which is identifying the biggest number that they share, and that's the greatest common factor. And that's all you have to do to find for method one, listing the multiples. I believe that this is the easier method for me and what I prefer to use when I was doing this for school. But the second method is also applicable. It just depends on which you are more comfortable with. So going on to our second method is going to be prime factorization. So the very first thing you want to do for prime factorization is using the tree method on both of the numbers that you are given with. So I do notice that this takes up more space on my paper. But if you grab a blank sheet of paper and write down the two numbers and then really break it down further into prime factorization, you should be a-okay. And that goes on to the second step, which is finding the numbers that they both share for both numbers. And then once you do that, you're going to multiply the numbers that they share. And that is how you solve for that one. So now going on to our very first example, I have find the greatest common factor of the following 12 and 18. Okay. So going on to my first method, I'm going to list the multiples. So I have 12, and I know the multiples of 12 is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Now, the multiples of 18 is 1, 2, 3, and 6. So now that I have that, I notice that the number that they both share is 6. 6 is the greatest common factor for 12 and 18 because I listed their multiples and now I see what numbers that they share. And I do want to say that once you find a number that they both share, you do not have to continuing on with your multiples. You can simply stop there. Now going on to our second example, I have find the greatest common factor of the following 20 and 28. So I'm going to take 20 and I'm going to list the multiples. This would be 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Going on to my second number, 28, the multiples of that would be 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, and 28. So now, stopping here, I see that the greatest number that they share in common would be that 4. So I'm going to take that 4 and I'm going to simply say 4 is the greatest common factor. That is my answer for 20 and 28. Now let's switch up our method a little bit. Let's go on to that prime factorization. So example number 3. Find the greatest common factor of the following, 36 and 54. I'm going to start off with 36. I'm already starting off my tree method. So I'm going to have that 36. And what numbers can I multiply to get 36? Well, I could multiply 4 and 9. Now we get 36. Now, how can I break these two numbers down further? So really looking at that, I know 2 times 2 can give me 4 and 3 times 3 can get me 9. So the numbers that they would share is 2, 2, 3, and 3, okay? Now let's go on to 54, okay? So 54, I know 6 times 9 can get me 54. Now how can I break down 6 and 9 further? Well, I know that for 6, I can get 2 times 3, and for 9, I can get 3 times 3. So now I'm going to look at the numbers that they share at the bottom in the same exact spots. So I see that on that 6 and that 4, they both share that 2 in the same spot on the far left. And for that 9, they both share that 3 and 3. So now what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to multiply these. So I know that 2 times 3 is 18 on both sides. So 18 is the greatest common factor of 36 and 54. Now going on to our fourth example, it says find the greatest common factor of the following, 24 and 60. So starting off with 24, I'm going to write that down. So what two numbers can I multiply to get 24? And that could be 6 times 4, okay? So when I do this 6 times 4, I'm simply going to do 3 times 2 because I know 3 times 2 would get me 6. Same with the 2 times 2 would get me 4. All right, so now we're going to move on to the 60, okay? So I'm going to write down that 60, and what two numbers can I multiply to get 60? Well, I know that I can multiply 6 and 10, so I'm going to want to break those two numbers down together. So I know that 2 times 3 can give me 6, and 5 times 2 can give me 10. Now let's see what numbers that they share on both sides. Well, I see that they share 2 and 3 on both sides, so I'm going to multiply these, and I know 2 times 3 times 2 is going to be 12. So that tells me 12 is the greatest common factor of 24 and 60. So, this is all for today's video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. This is Ari the Math Tutor signing off. Bye!